The rapidly intensifying geopolitical firestorm across the Middle East has reached an unprecedented and chilling new echelon of violence, as the Islamic Republic of Iran executed a devastating volley of ballistic missiles, specifically armed with highly destructive cluster bomb warheads, directly targeting the densely populated civilian and commercial corridors of central Israel and the historically sensitive environs of Jerusalem. This dramatic escalation, occurring against the broader, highly volatile backdrop of the ongoing 22/6 conflict, characterized by the joint United States and Israeli military offensive, immediately triggered widespread alarm and panic across multiple central Israeli municipalities, as early warning sirens wailed incessantly through the skies of Tel Aviv and its surrounding metropolitan sprawl, sending millions of terrified residents rushing into heavily fortified underground bomb shelters and safe rooms. Harrowing video footage rapidly emerging from the targeted central Israeli districts starkly captured what military analysts in the Israel Defense Forces quickly identified as dozens of small, highly explosive submunitions raining down from the heavens like a deadly metallic hailstorm, immediately following the initial ballistic missile intercepts and strikes. These diminutive but lethal bombs are dispersed via a sophisticated and terrifying mechanism, as the Iranian ballistic missile descends at hypersonic speeds toward its designated target vector. The specialized cluster warhead forcefully cracks open in midair at a predetermined altitude, actively releasing roughly 20 smaller explosive submunitions and scattering them indiscriminately across an incredibly wide geographic radius, currently estimated by defense experts to span approximately 8 kilometers. Each individual submunition contained within these cluster payloads carries roughly 2.5 kilograms of high-grade explosives, and, crucially, once they are violently ejected from the primary missile casing, they possess absolutely no internal propulsion mechanisms or localized guidance systems of their own, meaning they simply freefall toward the Earth, engineered to detonate instantaneously upon physical impact with whatever surface they strike. Military officials and weapons experts have grimly noted that this specific warhead design dramatically and intentionally expands the immediate danger zone of a single ballistic missile launch, while the explosive yield of each individual submunition blast is objectively smaller than the massive detonation produced by a conventional unitary missile warhead, which typically carries a massive payload of around 500 kilograms of high. Explosives capable of utterly obliterating a single concentrated impact site. The deliberate spread of multiple, simultaneous explosives across such a vast, uncontrolled area exponentially increases the severe risk to civilian populations and critical infrastructure by creating widespread disruption and maximizing the unpredictability of where damage may occur. During this latest Iranian aerial assault, detailed Israeli military assessments indicated that while only a relatively small number of actual ballistic missiles were launched in that specific salvo, the deliberate utilization of cluster munitions inherently meant that each individual missile potentially produced dozens of entirely separate and unpredictable impact points across the civilian landscape. Consequently, jagged missile fragments and lethal submunitions were widely reported to have struck several disparate areas across the central Israeli heartland, with Israeli police confirming that the scattered impacts caused varying degrees of structural damage in multiple, unconnected locations simultaneously. In one particularly alarming incident within a central Israeli town, a direct kinetic impact from a falling submunition reportedly ignited a fast-spreading structural fire, immediately prompting a massive, coordinated emergency response from specialized urban rescue teams and local fire brigades. The latest aerial bombardment marked the 8th distinct missile assault launched directly by Tehran since midnight, starkly highlighting the sheer, unrelenting intensity of the ongoing confrontation, while emergency medical services reported that there were no immediate reports of severe injuries. Directly following the initial wave of this specific strike, local authorities and the Israeli Homefront Command were forced to continuously assess the widespread damage while frantically searching for unexploded submunitions, which effectively transform into highly unstable landmines that pose a severe, long-term risk to civilians. Eventually, the Israeli Homefront Command cautiously informed the residents in the affected central districts that they were permitted to leave their bomb shelters. But officials simultaneously issued urgent public warnings, urging all civilians to remain in very close proximity to heavily protected spaces in the likely event that additional incoming missile alerts were triggered. Footage captured at one of the primary impact sites vividly showed jagged debris scattered haphazardly across the ground, believed to be the shattered fragments from an Iranian cluster bomb submunition casing, serving as a grim visual reminder that their inherent ability to spread violent destruction across wide, densely populated urban areas makes them particularly dangerous. For a fleeting moment, the skies over central Israel fell quiet again, but this latest attack heavily underscores exactly how quickly the tactical situation can intensify within this highly volatile conflict, especially as the Lebanese resistance group Hezbollah has simultaneously intensified its own violent confrontation with Israel, firing 2 separate rocket barrages toward Israeli military positions. These northern attacks materialized on Thursday as the incredibly violent cross-border hostilities between Hezbollah fighters and Israeli forces officially entered their 4th consecutive day, causing sirens to echo continuously across northern Israel, while the Israeli military rapidly responded with heavy strikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. The first Hezbollah rocket barrage was specifically aimed at fortified Israeli military positions stationed in the Al-Jalil panhandle, while a second attack swiftly followed, deliberately targeting a massive military industries facility operated by Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, a premier Israeli defense contractor geographically located south of Acre. Notably, Rafael stands as one of Israel's most critical defense suppliers, responsible for developing highly sophisticated military hardware, including the Iron Dome system, the Spike missile, and the Trophy active protection system. Thursday's highly targeted strikes followed a broad wave of Hezbollah operations executed on Wednesday that successfully targeted several significant Israeli military and defense sites located deep inside Israeli territory, including the Ain Shima airfield near Hadera, which houses Aero anti-ballistic missile batteries and Green Pine radar systems, the Iron Dome radar array at the Kiryat Eliezer Air Defense Base in Haifa, the Tel Hashoma military headquarters southeast of Tel Aviv, the Haifa Naval Base, Ramat David Air Base, and the central headquarters of Israeli aerospace industries. On the opposing side, Israeli forces have relentlessly struck targets across southern Lebanon, the Bekaa Valley, and Beirut's southern suburbs, killing more than 10 people as intense ground clashes were also actively reported all along the border. A severe escalation officially confirmed by United Nations peacekeepers, who reported seeing and hearing heavy combat as Israeli forces moved across the border. In a world where the global news cycle never stops and every turn tells a profoundly impactful story, from devastating regional wars and geopolitics to the US-China trade tour while Donald Trump quietly executes alternative diplomatic strategies. Across Asia, the desperate need for clear information to decode this global storm has never been greater, whether covering the shifting dynamics from Washington to Wuhan, or tracking the decisions that move markets and shape the future from Davos to Delhi. Credible global journalism is essential to navigate a world where a country like Canada can shift from being a top destination for Indian students to a complex diplomatic landscape in just 2 years. Understanding these massive global shifts doesn't have to be mired in jargon or bias. It requires smart, fast, and fearless journalism that builds perspective and connects the intricate dots between massive international conflicts, like the escalating war in the Middle East, and what those events actually mean for the personal lives of citizens navigating a rapidly changing world order.